I mean, this is the question of the moment. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago going into an election?
And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
Get the right folks who could.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
And when the next pandemic arrives, we will actually be prepared and have science so that we can stay on top of this. Because the last time I checked, and doctor, correct me if I'm wrong, having a leader suggest that we should inject bleach. Are you aware of anyone being cured of COVID-19 because they injected bleach into their body?
I am unaware of any such thing.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Many have said it before, but I will say it again. Jasmine Crockett is very, very good at this. This past week, the Food and Drug Administration Commissioner, Dr. Robert Califf, testified on oversight matters before the House.
The last area that I'm going to touch on in my last 45 seconds, because I am a woman out of the state of Texas, there's no way that I am going to have a conversation and not talk about reproductive access. So out of curiosity, would you consider the medical management of a miscarriage to be potentially a life-saving usage? Yes or no?
I have to decline to answer that because
that is
it's
perfectly
under
fine.
Adjudication by the Supreme Court.
That is perfectly fine. I'm gonna tell you yes, but I'm gonna give you another question that you can answer. Would you consider erectile dysfunction as a life-saving usage for Viagra?
Not life-saving.
Not life-saving. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you that based on my research that mifepristone actually has life-saving characteristics, yet Viagra doesn't. And for those that don't know, Viagra, from my understanding, is actually nearly 10 times greater as it relates to risk of death. Yet for some reason, it's not sitting in the court right now. And I do appreciate the fact that you laid out that when it comes down to getting drugs approved, they actually go through trials. It's not just randomness. You take the randomness, you then say, maybe there's some evidence here, and then you put it through the ringer. After putting it through the ringer for decades, women's lives have been saved. And as a representative from the area that Roe v. Wade actually initiated, I am appalled because for whatever reason, some people want us to go back to horse and buggy in this country. And I think since now maybe we have the internet, maybe we should take advantage of it. And we shouldn't say that we should remain in the times of horse and buggy. And so with that, thank you for the work that the FDA does. I respect your research. I recognize that the courts don't do research. I also recognize that this chamber seemingly doesn't care about research. But because of the work that you do, there are lives that are being saved. And I need you to be funded to the fullest extent to make sure that we can continue to save American lives.
Lawmakers pressed Califf on a range of areas, including cannabis, nicotine regulation, and as noted during her time questioning the commissioner, the previous administration encouraging Americans to inject disinfectant to combat COVID-19.
And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
And I'm so excited because this means that as we are looking at trials, as we're looking at diversifying them, we will have a great opportunity right there in Texas 30. It is a huge investment in science to make sure that we can save lives. And when the next pandemic arrives, we will actually be prepared and have science so that we can stay on top of this. Because the last time I checked, and doctor, correct me if I'm wrong, having a leader suggest that we should inject bleach. Are you aware of anyone being cured of COVID-19 because they injected bleach into their body?
I am unaware of any such thing.
Now, I almost forgot how cataclysmically absurd it was that during one of the worst pandemics in modern history, at a time where fear and anxiety was skyrocketing across the country, the leader of the free world got in front of a camera and said this.
And if heat is good, and if sunlight is good, that's a great thing as far as I'm concerned.
Sanjay, you brought this up. The medical, Gloria's right, the medical community, obviously it doesn't even take a medical degree to know, but yes, doctors, scientists are all saying, of course, this is ludicrous. Please don't try this at home.
And while I almost forgot, I would say that far too Americans actually have. And I'm not talking about those cocooned off in a MAGA bubble. Talking about those perhaps on the fence as to whether a second pop at the cherry would be so bad for the man once touting Mr. Muscle as a deterrent to COVID. Narrators know it would be as bad as combating COVID with Mr. Muscle.
And it is a fact that he's a racist. I won't just say, I think he's a racist. He's a racist by any definition of the term. And, you said you're going to give me some facts about Trump. Let me give you some actual facts about Trump and mental fitness. Let's just talk factually. Donald Trump recently confused Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley.
She gets like 9 people. And the press never reports the crowd, By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. Nikki Haley, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that.
He claimed he ran against Barack Obama in 2016. He ran against Hillary Clinton. He thought that we're about to enter World War II. We've actually had World War II. If we enter another World War, it'll be World War III. He thinks you can stop a hurricane with a nuclear weapon. He thinks you need ID to buy cereal. He thinks you can buy Greenland from Denmark. He thinks England and Great Britain are the same thing. He thinks that stealth bombers are literally invisible. He thinks that you can beat COVID by injecting disinfectant into your veins.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it...
The idea that this man should be allowed near a school board is absurd. The idea that he should be allowed near the White House, again, after everything we know about him, madness.
But thankfully, there are those like Jasmine Crockett and others who simply are not going to forget nor let opportunities to remind the American people pass.
Well, I blame Donald Trump for the recalling of Roe versus Wade. That is what started this, that's for sure.
I blame the Republicans for this.
Well, it's hard not to blame the person who, back in 2015, really started this hateful movement, and Donald Trump has been at the center of that.
Because amidst the gaff-offs and the conversations about age, etc., what seems to get lost are these reminders that not only is the current Republican frontrunner running on a new and improved draconian message to take us back to the 1800s and utterly gut women's rights top to bottom, but on a past record in which he woefully mismanaged a pandemic and resorted to the most obscene suggestions that, yes, many Americans took literally and damaged their health. So I will commend Jasmine Crockett. The more enemies that she makes on the right only goes to show just how afraid of her they really are, because she will never pass up an opportunity to remind Americans of just how asinine the previous president's comments and actions were.
As I prepared, I said, what is the crime? Because when you're talking about impeachment, you're talking about high crimes or misdemeanors. And I can't seem to find the crime. And honestly, no one has testified of what crime they believe the president of the United States has committed. But when we start talking about things that look like evidence, they want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets. Looks like in the shit to me. This looks like more evidence of our national secrets, say on a stage at Mar-a-Lago. When we're talking about somebody that's committed high crimes, it's at least indictments. Let's say 32 counts related to unauthorized retention of national security secrets, 7 counts related to obstructing the investigation, 3 false statements, 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States, falsifying business records, conspiracy to defraud the United States, 2 counts related to efforts to obstruct the vote certification proceedings, 1 count of conspiracy to violate civil rights, 23 counts related to forgery or false document statements, 8 counts related to soliciting. And I could go on because he's got 91 counts pending right now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally. And that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child. Until they find some evidence, we need to get back to the people's work, which means keeping this government open so that people don't go hungry in the streets of the United States. And I will yield.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.